Okay, so it's day 2, and I just realized that I don't have an intro for day 1, so consider this my intro for day 1. So, oops, sorry. So unless it's specifically planned ahead, I don't normally take out my bacon the night before. I just tend to put it on a cooking sheet, frozen, pop it in the oven, and once it starts thawing, I just separate it, make sure I don't burn myself. Try not to burn myself. And that's about it. I pair my turkey bacon in twos so that they don't get as dry in the oven because they tend to dry up. And since I'm doing other things, I tend to forget about them. I do pair some of them single, but that's because my husband likes his turkey bacon really crunchy. I sliced up these biscuits and popped them in the oven later on, right after the bacon was ready, just to warm them up since they were stored in the fridge. Here you guys can see we vary in what we like for breakfast. So I like sweet and salty. I'll pair my breakfast with fruit most of the time. My husband will keep his salty on its own and his sweet on its own. And my daughter's kind of like me, but she could survive off of sweet all morning, all day actually. So she had been munching on a nectarine. So I just cut up what was still salvageable off of that and transferred that to a plate so that she could eat with us. Here I'm making some omelets, and I quickly figured out that my measuring cup wasn't big enough, but that's fine. We proceed. It was already dirty at that point, so I just hurried up and got the rest of my eggs scrambled and popped that on top and then just mixed everything. It worked out fine. As you can see, my husband came and saved the day. I was having the hardest time getting the eggs onto the biscuits, but with a little help, we got it done. Am I the only person that still preps my mushrooms this way? I take off the skins, I cut off the bottom of the stem, I peel the stem a little bit, and then it's considered clean to me. I don't know why I cannot just use the mushrooms right as they are. It feels wrong. I know it can be washed off, but it just doesn't feel right. At this point, I'm thinking maybe I should just change my channel name to One Handed Cooking because I don't remember the last time that I had a recipe that wasn't one handed. Anybody that has caramelized an onion knows that it takes a long time. This took a while. I always start up with my onions because we like them really caramelized. And then once they start being translucent, I add in my mushrooms. This was the first time that I actually added mushrooms to this, and I don't think that we're gonna stop. I think this will become the new norm for this specific meal, though we don't have it very often because it's so rich, but this will become a new norm. So this is beef bulgogi mandu from Costco. That whole bag is about $16 and it feeds our family a solid 4 times. It's really good, but like I said, very heavy. It's really salty and it has a fatty richness to it. So a little bit of it goes a long way. We normally can have pot sticker wise, my husband can clear a solid 10 pot stickers on his own. With these, he can only have about 5, 6, and he is stuffed. Along with rice, of course, because again, palate cleanser and they go well together. So it's always a must in our house. Once they start browning up at the bottom, I flip them because I know you're supposed to only do the bottom, but we like that caramelization so much that I tend to try to get all 3 sides of them caramelized. It's just our preference, but really they would have been ready before I flipped them. And here I'm making just a little lemonade to go on to the side. My husband likes juice with his dinner. I am a water person, but I have started having just a few sips of juice with my dinner, especially when it's something so rich, and that lemonade helped cut through some of that richness. Now I know that it looks like I burnt it, but I swear I didn't. It was just really caramelized, and because of the lighting, it looks much darker than what it was. But as I'm making my daughter's plate, you'll see that I added just a tiny bit of mushroom, a little piece of onion, half a bulgogi, and her favorite, the rice, along with her other favorite, some cheese. And for us, I just plate up the rest and the leftover of that rice, which I don't make my rice with salt very often because I tend to use up my leftover rice for other recipes, which sometimes vary from salty to sweet. So by not adding salt to my rice and making it really salty, I have that flexibility with my leftovers. So that's what works for our family. And you guys are going to see a lot of cheese dishes, even though I have an ear infection, because cheese is expensive. I tend to have very, very small slices on my plate. But this cheese had been open for a while, so I'm just trying to use it up at this point. Now for our dessert. I tend to have a dessert almost every night, something sweet. I'm usually alone, but this night my daughter decided that she does like angel food cake, came up to me, acted like she wanted to give me a hug, and walked away with my slice of cake. So I had fruit along with like 2 slices of cake. But about an hour and a half to 2 hours after my meal, I tend to want something sweet. And so this is what I had this night. Just a little slice of angel food cake, the leftover of that pineapple, and just a few blueberries. I was really craving my grandfather's rice pudding this day, and since I have my breakfast quite late, I soaked up some cashews for about 2 hours and blended them in my NutriBullet. Again, doing this one-handed, but once it was blended, I added that to my stovetop, added a little sugar and vanilla, brought it to almost a boil, and then added in my rice, then put it on low and let that warm up. Once it was ready, I transferred it to a bowl, and you know it's ready when it starts thickening and sticking to the bottom. Then I added my cinnamon on top, and this was quite close to my grandfather's recipe. It just wasn't as sweet, which is still good because it was my brunch. Let's go check out the garden. We have a big zucchini. And we have another one here, but I don't think I'm gonna get that one yet. Tomato is nearly ready. Nothing else here. We have that cucumber. I'm debating on picking this one. It's got a little cut right here, so I don't want any birds to come for it. I'm gonna pick it. They're almost the same size. Oh, pause. Okay, we're back. Had to go run after a toddler. We have this one. This one still has a little more time to it. Oh, this one still has a little more time to it, I think. This one too, but they're getting there. And then let's pick some of these for our side salad tonight. Hello? Would you like a leaf? A leaf. Wow. Oh. And I'm gonna pick a few of these also. Just a few. Just to add some flavor, some color. I'm not sure if I'm gonna make a side salad or if I'm gonna make a yes, baby. Ooh, pretty. Or if I'm gonna make a, what's it called? Coleslaw. So not quite sure what we're doing yet, but either way, these are gonna make their way in there. That's all I see for today. Yeah, this is where we're going to call it. So that's what we're gathering today. Using my food processor, I just prepped some of these zucchinis for the freezer in 2-cup portions in Ziploc bags so that it's easier to portion out for zucchini bread this winter. Where have you been all my life? Oh my God, that was so easy. Now, since my food processor was already dirty, I gave it a quick rinse and decided that it was time to make coleslaw with the rest of that cabbage before it goes off and those garden greens. So I wasn't sure if I was going to put them in a side salad or a coleslaw, and we ended up going with the coleslaw, and I have zero regrets. It was so good. We enjoyed this so much as a side, and it went so well with nachos. I'm quite surprised. As I'm rewatching this, I'm realizing that I'm walking around with my baby carrier half on. And I tend to do that just so that if my daughter asks to be in my arms while I'm making something that absolutely needs 2 hands, I can easily just pop her on my back, and then there's no fits and everybody's happy, at least for a little bit. and I can get whatever it is done real quick and then give her my attention after. The color is off because of the beets and the kale, but the taste is honestly St. Hubert. So good. Okay, and now that the dishwasher is done and I got my blade back, I'm gonna turn these peaches into some peach juice because we're not going through them fast enough. Maybe some peach lemonade. We'll see. These peaches were ripening up so weird. The outside of them was getting really soft and mushy, but then when you got to the core, they were still almost green. Anyways, we used them up this way, and I'm thinking I'm probably going to use up the rest of them this way as well later on in the week. Because texturally, they just weren't great for fresh eating. That's amazing. Like really, really good. The lemon just added enough acidity, and I have the perfect amount of sugar. But if you ask my husband, he'll definitely say it needs more sugar. But this is good. Oh, I can't wait for him to try it. This is so good. Okay, this is going in the fridge for now. We have these black tiger shrimp. They're massive. Like, that's compared to my finger. We bought these for my husband's birthday in June. So I'm going to poach these, and we're going to use these as, obviously I'm going to clean them up. And we're going to use these as the meat on our nachos. I keep wanting to say tacos. Nachos. I forgot to mention this, but that water already had some Old Bay and salt in there just to add flavor to that shrimp. I'm probably the only person that I know that does this, but I like cutting my tomatoes in a small saucer rather than on a cutting board. It keeps the juices from wandering off of the board and making a mess everywhere. And I cannot stand tomatoes. I love tomatoes for eating. I hate cutting them because they make my hands all itchy, and it's a whole process. So I just take this shortcut to keep everything in place. At this point, I was kind of panicking because as I was cleaning them, I figured, oh my God, 4 shrimp is really not enough. How am I going to feed 3 people with 4 shrimp? But honestly, truly, with the side coleslaw and the cheese adding that extra protein as well, this was more than enough. My daughter ended up taking a super late nap this day, so I had to keep a little bit of extra on the side for her, and she ended up eating all of the cheese that I gave her, the chips. I think she may have eaten the cucumber as well, but she left the shrimp. So I'm probably going to repurpose the shrimp that was left over from her portion into something else sometime this week, or just add it to one of my meals. Surprisingly, this was even better than we thought it would be, and we were full. My husband took this cheesecake out of the freezer for me, and I was supposed to have it with my lunch, and I completely forgot about it. And I was already having something sweet, so I'm gonna have it after dinner now. It's been a few hours after dinner, but this is some birthday cheesecake that we froze, so gonna enjoy that.